You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
So happy you could join me here today on this first house call of the weekend, where we're going to be answering our community's questions, just like we do each and every weekend. We've been doing so for about 2.5 years. So really happy to be able to do this on the weekend. I always look forward to it. I love seeing the questions come in, and I actually never know what they're going to be before I actually just sit down with that list. My team is gracious enough to be able to gather all the questions that do come in from the Ask Cabral page. And what I do is I just go down them one by one, trying to make sure that I can do my best to give you that place to start, to help you understand what you might be missing on your journey into health, to weight loss, to improving your overall aging, or maybe even career path. We talk quite a bit lately on the best career path that you might be taking, if you want to get into health coaching, all of those different things. And always happy to talk about anything that I can lend a little bit of my experience to. So thank you once again for tuning into this show. Truly appreciate it. The weekend house calls are just a bit different than what we do on the weekday shows, where Monday through Friday, we're giving you one individual topic, and we're doing a deep dive for about 25 to 30 minutes on that topic. Mondays is typically the Mindset and Motivation Monday. Tuesdays is all about Total Wellness Tuesday. Wednesdays is Wellness and Weight Loss Wednesday. Thursday is Training Thursday, or sometimes Toxic Thursday. And Friday is our Friday Review, bringing you product reviews, what's going on in the practice. I bring you some research, sometimes book reviews, and of course, our Super Nutrient of the Week that I'll be doing all through 2018. Every single Friday, I bring you a new nutrient and why your body needs it. Not why it might be nice to get it, but why your body absolutely needs it. And this provides you, I believe, just with some great education and knowledge, so that next time you're at your PCP or, family's having a conversation, you're like, oh, you don't need vitamins, you don't need minerals, you don't need, amino acids or neurotransmitters. You can say, actually, you do. And here's the science behind it. So these are all fun things that I really enjoy being able to teach. And now on the weekends, what we do is we get into individual case studies and individual actual community-based questions. So without further ado, let's get right into today's show. Okay, all show notes today will be over at stephencabral.com/946. That is where you'll find all the questions in full. If it's a long question, I usually just read the important parts to you. You can read it in full on iTunes in the show notes, but also right over at stephencabral.com/946. Okay, Nikki's question comes in first. This was written in on June 5th. Hi, Dr. Ball, longtime listener. I tell everyone in my life about you and refer to you as my doctor in conversation. Thank you for everything you do. I wanted your opinion on nutritional response testing. My chiropractor nutritionist has done this testing on me. He's given me supplements to balance my body. I trust him, his knowledge and experience, but is this particular test worthwhile? I know it must not be as accurate as lab tests, but for a healthy person like myself, for optimal health, is it sufficient? Many thanks, Doc. All right, Nikki, I have a answer that will probably offend many, many people out there, but I just want to always provide you with one perspective. You could love the perspective and you can hate the perspective. It's okay. This is another name for a specific type of muscle testing, muscle kinesiology. And it's not that I do not believe in it, because I do. And actually it works for quite a number of things, for lie detection and you name it. So it's quite interesting to look at. But if we're talking about the same thing, which I believe that we are, nutritional response testing or nutrition response testing, where you can look at it from also basically one arm is being raised. You can actually do it with many different parts of the body. It's just most people oftentimes do it with an arm. And they show the resistance. Weak resistance, not compatible. Stronger resistance, compatible. Lying, not lying. There are different ways to look at it. And I've done this actually many, many times. I've been trained in it. I do not use it in my practice, all right? And I'll tell you why. I've had it done to myself many times, multiple practitioners. Some got one answer, some got another. And I had this done, I would say not 15 years ago, 12, 13 years ago, as I was kind of exploring many different modalities. Same questions were asked, different results. I'll be honest, I'm not that big into it. I'm really not. And I've seen multiple studies where people are just saying, this is the doctor says this is the doctor that says this. Now, you could have an amazing practitioner. So I will not discount amazing practitioners who are excellent at it. I don't have a problem with that. Even in my own practice, people that love it. So I'll be working with a private wellness client, and they'll say, oh, my muscle kinesiologist, muscle tester said this supplement was compatible, this one wasn't. I'm just like, okay. And they go on and they decide whatever's best for them, because the truth is that I allow people to be the owner of their health and body because they are. Then they'll come back 5 weeks later and they'll say, my muscle kinesiologist or my tester or my whoever said that this is now compatible. And I say, okay. And so then they begin it. It's like, you can do what you want to do, but I'm a much bigger advocate of lab testing. I really am. I'm trying to be as diplomatic as possible. If you're a healthy human being, you don't need a lot of supplementation. I recommend the Dr. Cabral Daily Protocol. I can get behind some use of balanced zinc in the winter. I can get behind some of the adrenal-based products under a lot of stress, the activated B complex at lunch for energy. I can get behind some omega-3 support, since most people are deficient in omega-3s because we've run thousands of labs on omega-3s. Absolutely vitamin D, if you're not getting a tan, without a doubt. So those I can get behind, without a doubt, and you should be using them. But if you're going and saying, should I be using N-acetylcysteine? Or should I be using supplemental liposomal glutathione? Well, it's why? Do you need it? Do you have any symptoms of it? Or do you just have one gene that you saw that might be off? So not an advocate. That's the truth. I recommend, when you are healthy, lab testing every 6 months to a year to just make sure your levels are great, and then replacing your deficiencies and removing your toxicities and doing quarterly detoxes. Okay, I know that was a long answer. I don't want to disparage anyone. That's the truth. But it's night and day. Honestly, that's my truthful opinion. It's night and day when you run functional medicine lab tests. It's the only way I figured out what was wrong with me. I mean, no one would have known that I had Addison's disease because I didn't really look that bad, until I had a doctor run a saliva cortisol test and saw that I wasn't producing any. And so we went to my PCP and said, hey, can you run a ACTH test? Can you run a STIM test? Can you do this? Can you do that? And lo and behold, I had that. So that's the thing. That's it. I'm going to keep it at that. Okay. Aiyanna is up next. Could I get a suggestion of where to start? Keto for 7 months, no gallbladder, definitely feel good minus poor digestion, no weight loss at all though. I plan to start paleo and do the 7-day detox, but should I also do the weight loss test or organic acids test? Okay, this is a great opportunity for me. I think I'm in a little bit of a feisty mood here. So doing keto and having no gallbladder this is not your fault, Aiyanna, but that is a recipe for disaster. If you're doing keto and you're doing it correctly, then your diet is predominantly fat, about 70%. Okay? Too much protein kicks you out of keto. Too many carbs kicks you out of keto. What does it leave you with? One macro, which is fat, right? So even if you're using, we won't even get into the specialized now exogenous form of ketones, but let's just say it should be predominantly fat. Now, if you don't have a gallbladder, you're most likely going to be working overtime then on proper bile storage, production, assimilation, and elimination. So keto is the worst diet that you could be doing if you have no gallbladder. You should be on a lower fat diet, not no fat, but lower fat. So what I would recommend is the Dr. Cabral Detox like we spoke about. Now, if you don't have a gallbladder or you have liver issues, that has to be your decision of whether you think it's okay for you, because I can't give you medical advice, or you check with your PCP, who will most likely not know about a functional medicine detox, but you can decide to if you choose that that's the best path for you. And obviously, I am feeling a little feisty today. And then what you'll do is you'll start to get on an overall healthy eating plan. I have so many podcasts on the Wellness and Weight Loss Wednesdays that I'd recommend looking at that. I would absolutely start with that, at least the smoothie for breakfast, and really looking at predominantly a plant-based diet. Hopefully, that's the right place to start. With 945 previous podcasts, I know that you'll be able to find your answer with that as well, without a doubt. And since your question came in on June 6th, I'm sure that you've heard a couple months worth as well, and maybe started getting back into previous podcasts. All right. Ellen's up next. Ellen writes in, I would like to begin using your resources, but I don't know where to begin. I've had consistent constipation for at least a year, and it's getting worse. I also have ringworm. It's come back for a second time. I know doing all the lab tests would be the most beneficial, but I would like to start slowly, mainly due to the cost. So I'm not sure if I should start with lab tests, a detox, or a supplement. Also, is there a podcast that discusses ringworm? I'm in the process of listening to the ones that discuss constipation, although if you can recommend the best podcast for the subject, I would appreciate it. Thank you so much. This has been such a gift, Ellen. All right, Ellen, I'm going to keep my pitta under control, and I'm going to give you the answers that you're looking to get started. So really great questions. Since you know you have ringworm, and since you know you have constipation, well, my recommendation then would be to start with what's called the Dr. Cabral Daily Protocol. I would do the parasite protocol, and I would also do the constipation-based protocol. So then that would save you money on having to do the stool test, because you already know that you have parasites. And then you could decide afterwards if you would like to run the organic acids test, or if you'd like to run a hair tissue mineral analysis, or another one that you might find beneficial for you. So that's absolutely what I would do. Really, just go to stevencabral.com/podcast and type in constipation. Then you'll get all of the different reasons why people can be constipated, right? Lower fiber, dehydration, lower peristaltic movement, higher sympathetic nervous system dominance, estrogen imbalance, lower levels of progesterone, hypothyroidism. There's many reasons why, and that's why when people say, oh, here's what to do for constipation, well, it actually depends on the person. Now, the nice thing about our constipation protocol is that it's going to move that peristalsis, right? If you're doing a smoothie in the morning, you're going to get even more benefit by doing the Dr. Cabral Daily Protocol because you're getting probiotics, you're getting the daily fruit and vegetable blend with 22 organic fruits and vegetables, and you're getting all the nutrients that you need from the daily nutritional support. And then the constipation protocol is going to give you our advanced fiber support. It's going to give you magnesium citrate, and then you're going to be doing the parasite protocol to remove the ringworm. So if you want to learn more about ringworm, I've done a lot of podcasts on this. Simply go to stevencabral.com/podcast and type in parasites. I apologize about that. We're talking about ringworm, not tapeworm. Okay, so let me step back for a moment. To learn more about ringworm, you will run the organic acids test, and you will look at candida, fungal, and yeast-based overgrowth. Or if you do not want to run an organic acids test for confirmation of fungal-based overgrowth, you can actually do the candida and bacterial overgrowth protocol, and you can apply topical tea tree oil or the citricidal drops right to the skin, diluted in a little bit of olive oil or sesame oil or jojoba oil. Now, those are also discussed by going to stevencabral.com/podcast and type in ringworm or fungal rash, and you'll see the same answers to that as well. Okay, great question, and I apologize that I got a little thrown off there as well. And next up is Deanna. Deanna's writing in, I had a pretty bad case of hives all over my body last year, so I had an IgG food allergy test done. I removed the trigger foods, but I've recently had an outbreak in hives again, this time on my throat and chest. Is it worth getting another food allergy test done? I also have high cortisol and estrogen levels. My functional medicine doctor said the hormone buildup is due to my constipation, which is most likely triggered from my food intolerance. I'm also thinking of trying the 7-day detox to see if that helps flush my body of whatever's building up. Is there anything else you can recommend? I already take digestive enzymes and methyl B complex. Okay, so great questions. Let's see if I can answer those for you. One issue that we're looking at is IgG food allergy testing is amazing. That is something that we recommend quite a bit in our practice. For hives sometimes, if it appears, though, after a meal, that can be an IgE reaction or potentially even an IgA reaction for the hive. So there's that. It could be a histamine or mast cell production, overproduction, and that can be due to yeast overgrowth. It can be due to SIBO, some type of imbalance in the gut. Your doctor's correct that it could be larger amounts of estrogen buildup due to constipation, but that constipation could also be due to candida overgrowth or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and that could trigger food intolerance possibility if you have more intestinal-based permeability or higher levels of immune-based activity from what's called a Th2 imbalance. So what would I do? Well, this is exactly what I would do. I would run the organic acids test, and I would run the stool test before I would run another food sensitivity test. And that's because if there are gut-based issues, we'll want to take care of whatever the toxicities and imbalances are, seal up the gut, and then there won't be as many of the food intolerances in the first place in the estrogen-based metabolites, because it's not estrogen, it's actually the estrogen and metabolites that aren't as powerful, but they do build up, and if you're constipated, they can move through the gut wall back into the bloodstream and cause higher levels of estrogen. However, you might actually be estrogen dominant and not have high levels of estrogen. This happens when women become a little higher in cortisol and progesterone levels go down. So estrogen levels, although normal, mimic higher estrogen levels, meaning they mimic high estrogen, even though it's normal, and that's because progesterone is low. I did a podcast on this just about a week or two ago called How to Balance Female Hormones, or actually it was called The 4 Foods That Balance Female Hormones. And I talked about seed cycling, and I talked about different things like that on the podcast. The absolute best labs you can run to this, for you, organic acids test, stool test, and the thyroid adrenal hormone. That would assess all the issues that you're dealing with currently. If you wanted to add one more, well, honestly, it would be the big 5 plus the stool test. Now, if I had to give them an order of importance for you, because you might not be able to run all of them, organic acids test, stool test, thyroid adrenal hormone, omega-3, then hair tissue mineral analysis. That is exactly the order that I would run those in. All right. Next up is Kristen. I have 2 questions, she writes in. I'm wondering if you received my intake for my son's form. Okay, so that I don't answer that question because I honestly have no idea. When it's a question like this, and again, it does say that on the Ask Cabral page, just write into any of our support email addresses. It'll find its way over. So you can write into support@stephencabral.com. That's just one. You could simply send in an email there and we'll help you with that. Just keep in mind that my schedule is booked out a little bit. My health coaches are able to see new people. They're booked out about 2 to 3 weeks, but they'll absolutely be able to see new people. And for myself, there's just a waiting list right now, but I'm still absolutely happy to help see new people in my practice as well. All right, second question. Is the daily activated multivitamin for everyone? Some of the vitamin percentages exceed the RDI by a lot. Is it safe for everyone to take this multi? Kids too. Should I reduce the dosage to 2 to 3 caps for kids? I know that was 4 questions. Thank you kindly. Okay, so the daily activated multi is for everyone. So do keep in mind that some of our percentages are way above the RDI, the daily intake it's called, okay? Recommended daily intake or recommended daily allowance sometimes it's called. Intake is different. So here's what it is. They're looking at the minimum amount you need in order to prevent a disease like scurvy or rickets. That's not what we're interested in. We're interested in actual optimal health. Now, the percentages we actually put in the daily nutritional support or the daily activated multi are not high by any measure, meaning like they're not huge orthomolecular dosage. I'm not against orthomolecular dosages at certain times, meaning I'll use high levels of vitamin C when I travel or I feel a cold coming on. Without a doubt, I'll go high dosages. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with high dosages of zinc for about 1 to 2 months if someone has copper toxicity. So like there's a time and place for everything. High levels of B12, right? I mean, high levels of biotin. Look at biotin. Most people take 5,000 micrograms when needed. That's way above the RDI. So yes, they're for everyone. But again, I'm not giving you medical advice, but it's recommended for all adults. You take 2 capsules with breakfast and 2 capsules at dinner if you're not using the daily nutritional support. Now, for children, it's different. It's based typically on weight. So what we're basing it on as an adult, now again, you still take the adult dosage if you weigh 120 pounds. But for children, what we do is we base it off a 150-pound scale, okay? This allows for maturization as well. What we're looking at is this. When a child is old enough to swallow capsules, they might be somewhere around, we'll say 50 to 70 pounds usually, right? When they can swallow a capsule normally. For us, that's going to be 1 capsule a day, okay? Once they get to about 75 pounds, 2 capsules. 100 to 120 pounds, 3 capsules. Once they're 16 to 18 years old, they weigh more than 100 pounds, then they can take the 4 capsules per day. Hopefully, Kirsten, I apologize if I called you Kristen. Kirsten, that answers your question. Thank you for writing in. Susie's up next. Hi, Stephen. Thank you for the amazing information in your podcast. I'm 25 and I really hit the hardest time of my life this last year. I'm stressed, exhausted, and sick. I feel like I'm slowly recovering. I eat organic, take multivitamins. I feel like I'm doing everything possible. I don't know the name of the company that you're taking those vitamins from, but I'll keep reading. I suffer from peeling fingers and toes, sore back of the legs after a big day, fatigue. I've noticed take a long time to heal. This all began with a chronically sore throat and snowballed from there. I noticed that my throat is always sore. I use nasal spray, saline, or steaming. Do you have any idea what could be causing this? Further steps I could take. I try Epsom salt baths. I also went vegan for years and 6 months ago introducing meat back, which helped. I've also been on Accutane when I was 22 for 4 months, and I've traveled to many countries. got bit by a tick in Nepal. I was on antibiotics for a while previously too. Okay, I know, Susie, this seems like a very complicated case, and sometimes it does seem that way, but we've worked with so many tens of thousands of people that I want to just share with you. This, for me, is a normal case that we see. This is not the mystery-based illnesses that we've been led to believe. You've taken antibiotics. You took massive, strong pharmaceuticals called Accutane, which can deeply affect the liver and your body's ability to detoxify. Your mitochondria right now seem like they're quite shut down. And a lot of times that's what antibiotics do. People take antibiotics for a tick bite when oftentimes it's not the best protocol. And the reason is those antibiotics cause absolute devastation to the mitochondria. So you sound like you're someone that's suffering from myalgic encephalomyelitis or chronic fatigue immunodeficiency syndrome. It will take a little bit to get that body back. It also sounds like you have some type of candida overgrowth with the skin-based issues that you may be having. All of this can be absolutely assessed, looked at, figured out, and gotten you back on the road to healing. But without a doubt, lab testing is my absolute recommendation. For someone that's sick like yourself, there's going to have to be some type of an assessment. You can do that with a local functional medicine doctor, an integrative doctor that absolutely knows exactly how to help you in your situation, or you can run the Big 5 plus the stool test with our practice, and we'd be happy to get you the answers that you're looking for. If the Big 5 plus stool test is not within your financial capacity right now, I completely understand and respect that. The order that I would do it is this. I would run the organic acids test, the thyroid hormone adrenal, the stool test, the hair tissue mineral analysis, then that's 4. Then if you're able to, and only if you're able to, I would run the omega-3 and food sensitivity test. But even those first 4 would be absolutely amazing. And again, we do offer quite a large discount on running the Big 5 lab tests. So Susie, I know that you can find your answer, and we'd be happy to help you, or I hope that you find a great practitioner in your locale that can work on digestion and mitochondrial repair by looking at someone that may potentially have myalgic encephalomyelitis, as well as chronic fatigue immunodeficiency syndrome, which has to do with the HPA axis and the body's ability to produce essentially energy or the nutrients needed thereof. But of course, it has to do with digestion and viruses and a lot more as well. So I wish you the best, and I know that you can get better. So keep staying on the path. Diane is up next. I live in Chicago, and I'm looking for a certified naturopathic doctor in the Chicagoland area. Are there any good recommendations? I would hate to have a bad experience with someone that doesn't have the necessary experience to practice. Thanks, Deanna. Deanna, the best thing I could recommend for locale, since I don't have access to all of the good doctors in your area, and I don't have the ability to necessarily vet them, is that I would go by recommendations from people in your area that have met with a doctor that have similar conditions to you that would be able to provide you with that answer. Unfortunately, I do not. I can tell you in just about 6 months' time, I will have a large network of all of the people that I will be certifying in our upcoming certification, level 1 and level 2. They will be from all over the world. You name the country. There will be hopefully practitioners in local states, local locales, and of course, we'll be building this up over the years. Those level 1 and level 2 will actually be able to take you through these lab coaching labs as well. And level 1 will be able to get you on the protocols that we recommend in our practice. So do look for that. That's launching actually the end of this month. So stay tuned on the podcast for more information on our certification. At that time, I'll be able to say, listen, these practitioners practice exactly how I do, and they're in your local area. It'd be great for you to meet up with them. That'll be really, really fun, I think, for everyone, for our whole community. Now, for right now, if you would like to work with my team, my health coaches, and actually when you run a lab through us, through Equilibrium Nutrition, whatever labs you run, I read the lab, I give my recommendations, and our health coaches take you through all of the plans, and they're amazing in their own right. You can also work with them as a private wellness client by Skype, which means you go through the same exact, you're in our private practice, and they'll go through the full consultation. They'll then make lab recommendations. I will still read over your labs, and you'll get to go through all of those recommendations, those 3 consultations with our private practice. So just go to stevencabral.com/946 for a link on how to apply to the practice. And of course, if you just want to start with some labs, you can just get those right through equilibriumnutrition.com. And those all come with a complimentary consultation and my review of your lab work. Now, I understand that a lot of times you want to work with someone in your local area. Totally respect that. I just want to give you all your options right now as I see it, and we're happy to help any way that we can. All right, let's go one more question today. Suraj is up next, and it's S-E-R-A-J in case I'm mispronouncing that. Dear sir, I'm an old person of 71 years suffering from CKD disease of phase 3 for 12 years. My blood pressure, hypertension, diabetes for 25 years, and gastritis for 45 years. I have also huge bloating, acidity, indigestion, candida problems. I suspect I might already have developed leaky gut that's spreading fungus, left side, particularly left back and left ear. I'm terribly worried about kidney and gut and stomach issues. I would remain grateful if you kindly suggest any means if I could reverse these diseases. Thanks. All right, really appreciate you writing in. Thank you for your question, and we're happy to help. So what I would say is this, is that you seem to already know a lot of the issues that you have going on. You talked about the chronic kidney disease. I'm assuming that's what you mean by CKD. And that's been for 12 years. You have high blood pressure and you have diabetes, blood sugar issues. So there might be a lot of what's called metabolic syndrome going on. And then there's the candida. My biggest recommendation is if you're able to work with someone in a local practice with this much going on, that works great. If not, we are able to help you, of course, as well. Now, you can do two things. One is you could begin to start to run these labs. Now, for you, I can't recommend enough with everything that's going on, the Big 5 lab test. I can't recommend that enough. Order of importance for you, though, if you're not able to run the Big 5, would be organic acid test for the digestive-based issues. Then I would run the hair tissue mineral analysis. Number 3 that I would run is the omega-3 test. Number 4 would be the thyroid adrenal hormone, and number 5 would be the food sensitivity test, okay? So that is absolutely what I would do. If you're not able to afford those lab tests, again, I totally understand. And you may begin with the Candida and bacterial overgrowth protocol if your kidney specialist is okay with that, okay? You may want to check with them. Now, if you do start that, whether you check with them or decide not to, that's obviously your choice. I can't give medical advice. I would actually recommend starting off slower. So most of the products for those 3 products are 2 capsules at a time, 2 in the morning, 2 at night. I would recommend starting with 1, ease into it. But again, there are many different options that you can go with. I would potentially even just start with a daily smoothie to get started, right? Do that for a month. Then begin to add in the daily fruit and vegetable blend. Do that for another month. Then as your body's starting to get a little bit cleaner, a little bit healthier, you might decide to do the Candida and bacterial overgrowth protocol, right? You might start to get on more of a plant-based diet, less meat, less, items that are going to be harder for you to digest, especially if you do have leaky gut. So, Suraj, that's exactly where I would start. Hopefully that is helpful. And that is all of our questions for today. But tomorrow, we're going to be answering more questions from our community. I'll be a little less feisty then. So hopefully you'll tune back. Hopefully you enjoyed today's show. Always a lot of fun for me to be able to answer your questions. And we'll talk with you tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Hope you're having an amazing weekend. Ever wonder what the best sauna, blue blockers, sleep trackers, wake lights, salt lamps, or other health gadgets are? Or what about the top non-toxic mattresses, sheets, soaps, bath products, toothpaste, and cookware? Or would you like to know the cleanest choices for hemp parts, meal delivery services, supplements, and much more? I personally curated, researched, and now created a resource page of all of my top picks that continues to grow each week. These are the exact products I use in my own life, with my family, in my private practice, and they're the ones I trust. To find out all of my up-to-date recommendations and all the details, simply head on over to stephencabral.com/resources.